Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ballin with Bill here, Season 3. I have a great guest here today, here over here at Sideline Power, Justin Kammrad. I hope I said that right. If I didn't, I apologize. I've known this young man for quite a while. I had the opportunity to watch him at UNO when he played with my nephew there at Nebraska Omaha Mavericks. He's a Mav like myself and outstanding running back for them. And a fine person to watch and a great man. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it is. It's great to have you here. So I just kind of, I watched you in college, but how did you get started in football? How did you become your thing and your sport, and where did you start to like it? What age? And
Yeah,
tell us about yourself.
for sure. So obviously grew up in Council Bluffs. Really, obviously always enjoyed watching football. I think it was probably about 9 years old that my dad saw a little flyer in the newspaper and said, "Hey, do you want to play football?" And for the first time, strapped the pads on. Just knew that that's what I always wanted to do, and just really obviously had a great experience playing youth football and going to high school at Thomas Jefferson, and then obviously playing at Nebraska Omaha. Obviously just developed that passion along the way and the desire to be successful, and the teamwork that goes involved with it. A lot of my best friends that still today are the ones that I've played football with, and so really got involved with my dad. Pushed me into it a little bit, and from there we just sort of took off.
Awesome. So who were, when you were growing up, who were the mentors that you looked up to as far as coaches and all that stuff?
I was very fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of really good, coaches, and not even football related. I think probably the one that instilled a lot of discipline in me was probably our high school track coach, Bob Nilsson, who legendary track coach in the state of Iowa, just, old school disciplinarian, and got the most out of every person that was on the track team, and held you accountable to everything that you did. And so, just really learned a lot from him about really coaching, not so much X and O's, but coaching and handling and building relationships with kids, which still today I fall back on a lot of those leadership traits that he instilled with us, and still get to see him around. He's still coaching today, still coaching track. And so, he was really, someone that I really looked up to and idolized, and had the fortunate ability when I did get into coaching to have the ability to coach with him for a little while as well. And growing up, that was the guy I looked up to.
That's neat. So tell me about your career, because I know, you played at TJ. I remember when you got signed with UNO and all that stuff. So tell me about your career, because you were an outstanding running back. You were fun to watch when I used to come out to games on Saturdays.
Obviously played at Thomas Jefferson High School. Graduated there in 1999, and then attended University of Nebraska Omaha. Obviously had a great career, and unfortunately injuries, lead you to other directions,
Right.
and got my degree, in education and exercise science, and immediately got into teaching. At that point, wasn't totally sure that if I'd ever play, again.
Right.
Played an all-star game down in Texas. Unfortunately, injury, prevented me from doing anything after that. Got into coaching, and during that time, I was missing it, and I got a phone call from a coach and wanted me to come play arena football. And, I had always told myself I would never do it. It wasn't real football. It wasn't the same. But, once you leave the 11-man game and you don't have football anymore, you really start to miss it. And so I got involved with arena football. At the same time I was coaching in high school, and really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, after 3 years, another injury sort of ended it. And at that time I was coaching at Thomas Jefferson High School. I spent 4 years there. 1 year as a freshman coach, and then 3 years as the varsity defensive coordinator. From there, moved over to Abraham Lincoln High School in Council Bluffs. Was a head coach there for 6 years. Had some tremendous football players. Really talented guys. We were able to make the playoffs 6 of 6 years that I was there. At that time, my wife and I had started a family, and her and the kids were in a different school district, and had to make the tough decision on what to do at that point. And I knew probably the best thing for me career-wise and everything else was for me to sort of make that move and take a step back and get into the district that they were in. And so, at that time, I made the hard decision to go over to Lewis Central, but at the same time, it's probably the best move for me professionally. I got to work under legendary coach Jim Duggan. Had really started to turn the program around at Lewis Central. He invited me over, welcomed me with open arms, and I spent 5 years as the offensive coordinator, pseudo office coordinator. I guess the first year was really just coaching quarterbacks, and then the next 4 was really coaching the offense and being the offensive coordinator. And so did that for 5 years, and then the last 3 I've been the head coach. And so very fortunate to be in that position. Have worked with some really great coaches along the way. Some guys that when I was the first-time head coach at 26 had some mentors, and Walt Olson, who was at Papillion Livingston South, and he coached the defense for me, and then just to work under Jim and see how a program is ran and a championship caliber program is ran, and have really enjoyed it. And so that's really been my tenure a little bit, and coached arena football after I got injured too for a few years, and so really have been within the Southwest Iowa area most of my career.
Where'd you coach what?
The Iowa Blackhawks.
Yeah, the Blackhawks.
Who played
okay.
there in Council Bluffs.
Yeah, that's right. I remember when you were the head coach there. So tell me what it was like coaching for Doug. I mean, because I think a lot of that guy. He's been a legendary coach. I've known him a long time and always been impressed with what he does and the work he is capable of doing.
Absolutely. And obviously just being a younger guy and wanting to see what successful guys were doing, just to, you really realize that some of the stuff you were doing was really good, and then some of the stuff you were doing just was completely off. And so, that really refined a lot of what I'm doing now today with our kids and X and O's and really just building the program. And he really, like I said, was open arms and came in and took suggestions. Let the coaches coach, gave us all responsibilities, trusted in us, allowed us to make calls, and when really everything was in his court. And I think that was probably the biggest thing was his idea of a program was everybody is involved and every guy's voice is valued, and so really took a lot from that and really have continued to use that now that I've been the head coach for 3 years.
Because I know I remember when you coached at AL, so because I worked with you back then and everything like that, and I thought you did an outstanding job because you took over that program. That was in a tough array at that time, and you did some things. You brought Walden as your DC, so
absolutely
you did some good things as a young head coach. I remember that. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I was always impressed with what you did at AL.
Yeah, you obviously as a football player and as long as I had played and done some coaching, you always think you know everything, and you really don't.
Even when you think you know everything, you still
absolutely.
You're
and
always
so,
learning.
And so when I got there, I really pushed hard for Walt to join my staff because I wanted a veteran guy that, I could sort of hang my hat on a little bit and ask questions. And, as a young guy, really, correct me if things were wrong. And he did that. He never held anything back. He always shared his opinion, which was great. And we were able to get the most out of our kids and performed really well. And, having that mentorship, and still to this day, he'll call me and ask how things are going and stuff like that. So just unbelievable guy. And knows X and O's, and really gets after it. And so really being with him for those 6 years, 4.5 years that he was around before he went to Papio South, it was amazing to have him on staff.
I think it really helped when you guys gelled. I thought you guys brought that AL program to the best it's been for a long time. And so tell me, you started out at UNO and you ran the I formation in power football. So how have you? I mean, because you coached the Blackhawks, you coached 11-man high school. So how has this all adapted to your philosophy? And because it's changed. I mean, I look at what you're coaching now and everything like that. So I mean, you used to hammer that off tackle hole like crazy. So tell me how that's adjusted with the different coaches you've got and all that.
Yeah, and through high school, we were very running back oriented. Not a whole lot in the passing game, and even at UNO, it was the same. We were going to run inside zone, and we were going to run some option, and you're going to play action people and get the ball down the field that way. And so my first time as a head coach, obviously as a DC for 3 years prior before I got the head job, you learn a lot about offenses as a defensive coordinator. And so, I really want to put my staple on, being in the I formation and playing action, sort of like what we did at UNO. Then you start to evolve a little bit based on the players that you have, and you start to realize and start to become more comfortable with what's going on. Coaching the Blackhawks was probably an eye-opener for me because that was all passing, and so that helped me with the passing game, understanding that a little bit more, although it's 8-man, it's not 11-man, but still schemes and philosophy really started to change for me. When I got to Lewis Central, they were in between, still getting under center a little bit, being in I formation, but really had some good quarterbacks when I got there. Austin Simmons, who just finished up a great career at South Dakota, was our quarterback when I first got there, and we really started to evolve and get away from being under center all the time. We still did it with him, but really got into some more spread sets because of his ability and some of the receivers we have. Tight end who was there that's now currently still at South Florida in his 6th year. Mitchell Brinkman's had a great career, so we had some really good players to really spread it out to that we started to open it up a little bit. In doing so, you learn a little bit as a coach. You start to understand what you can do and can't do. And then, the following year, Max Duggan, he was a freshman. And so
He was amazing.
we broke him in a little bit by being under center, but as he progressed into his sophomore year, we were more in 11 personnel. And then his junior and senior year, we were more in 10 personnel and doing a lot more stuff to really open it up to get to the quarterback run game and obviously with the passing game. And so, since he's graduated, we've been through, we're on our third starting quarterback, per se, I guess, right now since he's left. And we actually have returned more so to when we had Max. The first couple of years was, hey, we're still going to get under center. We had a really big offensive line, really good running back, so we're just going to hammer it at people. And so you really just change with the times. You really do, and the players that you have within it, and not try to fit a scheme to the players as much as you can. And so we're really in a position right now where, we got a great quarterback and we got some really talented, skilled players, and some running backs that we can do a lot of different things within our personnel. And so, it's really been fun to watch the evolution, of football for us, but also football in general, of what it's really turned into and really trying to do some different things.
That's neat. I mean, coaching that young man, how's he doing in college now, Duggan's son?
He's having a phenomenal career at TCU.
I know.
He's doing great.
He's quite an athlete. I've watched him on TV.
Yeah, I think on Sunday, he surpassed 4,000 career passing yards down there in his third year already. So, and he obviously can run the ball like no other. And he's done a great job. So, yeah, we're excited that he came through our program. And, with players like that, too, you learn a lot from players. So he's taught us a lot, and a lot of our players have taught us a lot about football and what works and what doesn't work. And so we rely on those guys, too.
That's neat. So what, on your offense, how do you adjust it now with each quarterback? I mean, take the same scheme and adjust it. How does that work within your system, Coach?
Yeah, a lot of times it comes down to, obviously the personnel, and what we truly have. 3 years ago when I took over as the head coach, we had just graduated Max, so we were wide open, spread offense. We were going to break in a new quarterback that we knew that, wasn't as great as a passer, but was great at managing the football game. And so, we got to more of 12 personnel and 21 personnel and ran the ball a lot more than we had in the previous couple of years. But we were really true to, our inside zone scheme. We really are just hammering inside zone. And then we have obviously, some power schemes and other stuff off of that we run with some play action stuff and some deep shots. And so last year, obviously, we had Thomas Fidone, who was the number one tight end in the country. And so we were able to spread it out a little bit. We were also breaking in another quarterback who was actually our slot receiver the year before, who managed it and did some really good things. And then, obviously, this year with our quarterback, he can do a lot of different things. He has the ability, the mobility to move around and run the football if we need to, but also can get the ball anywhere down the field that we need to right now. And so, and we have the skilled players. We have a really good running back right now. That is pretty darn electric that we were able to get him the ball in space. But we have 4 really talented wide receivers that at any time we can get the ball to them. And so really we just continue to evolve based on the personnel and really hold true to a lot of our original concepts of quick passing game and inside zone run and then build off of that for us.
Now, do you know the quarterback that plays this year for you? Do you know?
I do. It's my son, Braylon.
Well, congratulations.
Yes, absolutely.
How's that? I mean, I think because I played for my dad for a little bit, and I know Bob did too. And we didn't play quarterback, but we at least played for him. And it was interesting having your dad as the coach.
Yeah, it's something that we talked before. It's evolved. I've had the fortunate ability to coach him since he was in 3rd grade, and really see his maturation process and his development along the way. And obviously, there's some things that we couldn't do early on with him when he was younger that now he's able to do, and he's managing it. And it sort of just comes full circle a little bit to remembering when I was in high school and going through that process of getting ready to go to college, what that was like. And, you just seem to have a different relationship, a different bond with your kids when you spend so much time with them on the field. Being at home, you do too, but in a different capacity, and you get to see them, develop some leadership skills and how they interact with their teammates. And I think that's probably the biggest enjoyment for me is I just get to see him grow up on a daily basis and get to watch him perform. And, it's just one of those things that it gets here real fast. I didn't think it would happen, but, I don't know what he would say, but I've really enjoyed this year more than any other year, with him just because of his understanding and his mature, ability to be able to do so many different things for us, within our program.
That's neat. I just think that's really cool that, you guys can work together. live together and not kill each other and get mad at each other.
Well, there's
have
times.
fun. You're frustrated with each other that you can't.
Mom helps out at home. She keeps us separated.
Well, that's important. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Thank you.
Hey guys, this is Mark with Sideline Power. For this month's featured video, we'll be highlighting the laser down marker system. Guys, try to be a little professional here. We're trying to shoot a video.
Sure.
Sorry, they asked me to have the interns help with the video this month. Not sure it was a great idea. Anyways, the laser down system is a high-tech, real-time down and distance marker that's extremely easy to use. It's light, portable, and the rechargeable battery lasts 6 to 8 hours.
Hey Mark, that's almost as long as your bathroom breaks. Good one. Boom, roasted.
The laser down system has a matte finish that doesn't reflect sunlight or stadium light. It also has 5 levels of brightness for day or night optics, so everyone can see the marker clearly, no matter the circumstances. Its lightweight polycarbonate foam housing keeps it completely waterproof, even in the toughest conditions, like the one I'm about to create right now.
No.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm here with Coach, and we've had a great discussion about his offense and different things that he does and his program out there at Lewis Central. Tell us, because I know you coach defense. That's when you first started as a coach there. So tell us about how your defensive philosophy has changed as a head coach and what you've seen changed out there. Because I think, in my personal opinion, that's the hardest thing to coach nowadays because you can't, like when you played, you go live all the time and tackle. So you practice that. And I think that's hard because you practice tackling dummies and all that stuff. So you don't do the live scrimmages like you used to when you and I played. So how have you adjusted all that with your defenses?
Yeah, the great thing for me, being at Lewis Central when I first got there as an assistant, is our defense coordinator has been there. Had been there for 23 years, and then he just recently took the head girls basketball job. And so a guy who had been assistant had also been there for 23 years that I promoted to defensive coordinator. And so, the biggest thing is just the tradition of Lewis Central and the philosophy. I really haven't harped and I haven't changed much of what they do. They obviously have done, and we've had conversations that the game is evolving. And so, from where, they started coaching, and we base out of the 4-4. But now we drop into a 3-5, and we drop into a 3-4, and we're very multiple in what we do based on what the team's going to give us, what they're going to provide offensively and what we need to stop. And so we really try to do that as much as possible. We really want to be a 4 down as much as we can. We want to get pressure on the quarterback. We want to stop the run, which we've been very good at. But now it's obviously, well, how do we defend the pass? What other things can we be doing? And so, I really have left them alone from a schematic standpoint, and they've done a great job with it. You talk about the tackling, you talk about the head.
That's why I noticed the
injuries
first week
and,
how much the high school tackling improved from week 1 to week 2.
Absolutely, and we've done a lot more. The tackling wheels and the tackling pop-ups, and we hit that a lot more than we hit our own guys. And sometimes you get a little bit worried as a head coach. Moving targets are a heck of a lot different than anything that's stationary. And so we try to get as much live tackling as we can. Thud. A lot of times it's not going to the ground. In practice, we're not going to the ground. Early on in camp, we will. We'll go our best on best, and we'll get after it. We scrimmage one time before we get to our true scrimmage week with another school. And so we do early on in camp. We really do harp on our tackling, and we do have live tackling. But once we get to the season, it's all on dummies and things like that. And so just being in position, learning to rally to the football and get into position and wrap up. We're constantly yelling at guys, you can't jersey tackle, you can't do that kind of stuff, because you become lazy and complacent knowing when, we're not going live. And so we try to go stud as much as we can live and hard to the wrap. And obviously it's not the same, but for the most part it's worked for us. The philosophy that we've had and how we approach every week with tackling.
Because that's the biggest thing, same thing when you played, the NFL, once they get season, they're hardly ever in pads. And now you see college doing that.
Yep.
And it's slowly moving to high school, how that philosophy is, because you're trying to protect your players and keep them healthy. So you just seen that. How have you adjusted? Because you still grew up in the 3 yards in a cloud of dust a little bit.
Right. And so, we really rely, and it's crazy to think about it, but we rely on our youth program. And so we have a great youth program and great coaches that a lot of that fundamental development is established along the way.
Okay.
That hopefully by the time they get to us in high school, that the basics are taught, so that they've live tackled a lot, coming up through our programs. That hopefully those 3 or 4 weeks prior to the season of live tackling and us getting into that position, that we're able to continue to harp on that. And it's really just cleaning it up every week. It's things that we see on film and how our guys are attacking. Are they in the right spot, or are they inside out? We really try to address that through our tackling. We do it twice a week with our turnover circuit as well. And so we're still trying to get as much tackling, although it is with bags and stuff like that. And obviously in the state of Iowa, we're restricted to how many hours of full contact we can have.
I think Nebraska has the same a lot.
And so that makes it a little bit harder on how you manage snaps and how much live can you go and head-to-head contact that you can do.
Correct.
And so really limited on that aspect and just following that USA football model. And it becomes interesting at times. But I think we've done a great job. It's not one of those things that's just always glaring. Kids are going to miss tackles and that kind of stuff. But I feel that our coaches have done a fabulous job of really addressing that.
Watching it today, I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, I watched, and the rules have adjusted more towards offense. Let's be honest. I mean, it's kind of the fans' game now, and I think being a defensive coordinator has changed even when you were defensive coordinator. And I think to adjust all that is incredible, because I think that would be the hardest, is be on the defensive side and make adjustments all the time.
Absolutely.
Because offenses, you could come out one week and play a triple option team spread. Next week you come out and you play a flamboyant offense with throwing it all over the place.
For sure.
And then next week you come out with a running court. I mean, it's a challenge on defense. I think it really is. And I give those guys a lot of credit. So
absolutely.
How have you seen that change from when you first started coaching defense?
Yeah, originally when I first started coaching, everyone was basically running the same type of offense. And people weren't airing it out. They weren't getting in the 3 and 4 wide sets at all. And that has really changed, and you hit it on it. Last week we faced a team that was still double tight, split back veer team that we had to load up the box and get downhill. Now this week,
Harlan, they haven't changed.
now week 3, we're a team that's going to be 3 and 4 wide, and sometimes empty sets, and so you got to be able to sort of morph with our guys. And so we play with some hybrid players. We have some D linemen that will actually drop back and play linebackers, so that we don't have to sub a lot, but we will bring in some defensive backs when we need be. So. I guess that's the fun part from a defensive perspective is every week it's going to be a little bit different. And we're fortunate that we have the ability to sub guys in and out, and we got guys that, hey, if we're going to play 4 down this week, we're going to play with these guys. We're going to play, a 3-4, then we're going to play with these guys. So I think that's the fun part about it, but it's also, it becomes a little stressful, each week when you're trying to attack something different and stuff like that. So it's extremely difficult now because you don't know what you're going to get on a weekly basis as well.
Now, personnel-wise, those hybrid players, as you mentioned, probably become big keys in your program, because you need those guys that can go down and rush the passer, then turn around the following week maybe and drop into coverage. And
Absolutely.
So I think, how's that? What kind of an athlete do you look for in doing that?
Yeah, really, it's that tweener type guy that anybody would say in college. And so typically, the years that I've been here, now it's been 8 years, it's always been that kid that's been about 6'2", 6'3", and about 210 to 215. That has a high motor, that gets off the ball, but has a high football IQ, and we've always had one of those guys. The funny thing is that the last 2 guys have been brothers, so it's almost a mirror image of each other. His older brother, Nick Miller, his older brother is currently at Northwest Missouri State, and he stepped into that same exact role. And so just really athletic, multi-sport athlete kid that is not afraid to stick their nose into the run game, and get into a big offensive tackle and do what they need there, but also be able to drop back and play, linebacker and drop into zones. And so you got to have a really athletic kid to do it. But there are times that, we will sub, if we need some better speed and keep him as the rush, we'll do that kind of stuff. And so, as far as that hybrid guy, that's what we're looking for from that outside linebacker, defensive end type guy.
A very good athlete, but can still put it.
Yes.
Get in a 3-point, come after it when you need him.
Mm-hmm.
That's neat. So tell me about coaching last season, and then how it's adjusted for this season because of the things you went through last year, and talk a little bit about this year so far.
Yeah, last year was obviously a very odd year.
I think it was for everybody.
With how you approach the season, what you were allowed to do, what you weren't allowed to do. Our kids really bought in from the time that we were finally able to truly get together. We knew we had some really talented players. Obviously, we had Thomas Fedoni, and we had Logan Catcher, who's now at Wayne State, and we got a kid that played offensive line that's now at the University of Mary, and we only had 10 seniors, so we knew we were going to be fairly young. So we played a lot of juniors and a lot of sophomores last year, but had faith and had some confidence that we would be able to get back to the UNI Dome, which is where we play the semifinals and finals, because we had been there the previous 2 years, and we were rolling through the season, had a really good year. We got to Harlan. I think that was the last regular season. We did miss one game due to COVID because the other team had COVID, and so we got to the last week of the season, which just happened to be after that week. So you had a bye week going into that, and they got us. They beat us. I think it was 28-14, and with the change in the schedule a little bit and being a COVID year, everyone in the state of Iowa made the playoffs. So playoffs were 4 weeks long. To get to the UNI Dome. So typically you win 2 to get there, and this year you had to win 4, or last year you had to win 4. And we cruised through the first 3 weeks, played really, really well, made some adjustments offensively, some personnel. My son, who he started through the playoffs for us, did a really good job, and just so happened had to meet up Harlan in the quarterfinals again. And unfortunately, we made just a few mistakes and lost that game 21-14 to make it back to the third semifinal in a row. And so, we lost that game and finished the season 8-2, which obviously is a really good season.
Season.
But for what our expectations were, it just didn't quite seem like we accomplished what we wanted to. And coming into this season, schedules change, and the state really loaded us up with the schedule, which is fine for our non-district. I think 5 of our 9 games this year are against ranked opponents that were preseason ranked. Game number 1, you end your season at Harlan. Well, game number 1 was against Harlan. They're preseason ranked in Class 3A number 1. We were preseason number 1 in 4A. Week 1, we were leading by 15 most of the game. Last 5 minutes of the game, one turnover changes it, and then in 5 minutes we go down by 7, and our kids are resilient. We fought back. With a minute 56, we drove all the way down to the 14, had a last-second pass that fell incomplete. Looked like kid caught it, but it was incomplete, so we lost, unfortunately, by 7 week 1. Then week 2, this past week, we won 70-22 and had a really good outing. Our kids were obviously playing a little bit angry. And, moving forward, our schedule gets a lot harder from here. We play Norwalk, who's ranked right now, and then Indianola, who's ranked as well the following week.
They're both good programs.
Really good programs, and have done a really good job. So, we're in for a little tough road here, and, hopefully our kids can respond. And, we're pretty optimistic about the season right now.
That's good. Is Coach Blatt is his son still the head coach there now?
His son is the head coach at Harlan.
Does he still help out at Harlan?
He's around.
He was coaching when I played in high school.
Yeah, so he's
he
around.
Played at Morningside back in the old North Central days against UNO, remember?
Absolutely.
That stuff. Yeah. So is he still around?
He's still around, yep, absolutely.
Wow. That program stayed with one family for quite a long time.
It has, and they've done a great job. They've kept that tradition going.
Oh yeah, for a long time. So I know you're one of those guys too. Tell me about your strength program, because that means a lot to me, because that helped me in my life, and I know that it was a big part of your program growing up too, what you did in your track and football days. So tell me about your strength program.
Yeah.
And you were the strength coach I first met you at AL when we were.
Yep.
When you were
So I've been teaching and coaching for 18 years, and that's all I've ever done has been strength and conditioning at all 3 schools. I've been the guy that's been in the weight room that's done that, and obviously just like football, philosophies and things evolve. During that time, at TJ and AL, we had a powerlifting program, and
you won the state, did you, 1 year?
I think we took second. I think when we were at AL 1 year.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really heavy into that, and obviously we really have developed, at Lewis Central into more of an Olympic triple extension, speed matters type program, and we've really changed our philosophy, and it's been really good for our kids. Our kids have really bought in, and I think that was one of the main things when I came over to Lewis Central with talking with Coach Duggan, was he understood the importance of strength and conditioning, and that was the difference maker of a program. And if you're going to be successful, you got to be able to develop that. You got to develop kids in the weight room. 1, it builds confidence in them, but 2, it develops strength and speed in that area, if done correctly. And our kids started to buy in, because started to win more games, started to win big games, and started to beat teams that we probably shouldn't beat. And so we've been able to really, really, look at our strength program and go, what, this has been the big factor of why we've been successful. And so, our kids are in there, all through the school year. We have it during the school year, and then they're in there all summer. They buy into that, and So really have changed a lot of what we've done. And the great thing about it is, it's just not strength stuff. It's our speed work, and our track coach is heavily involved in our program. And a lot of people have moved towards Tony Holler and Feed the Cats and what they've done out there in Illinois, which Iowa State has now done a little bit of, and what a lot of programs across the country have done, and we've really done that too. And really, get away from that long distance duration conditioning stuff and really work on our speed and so building on that with our strength program and our kids just becoming more explosive and in the weight room. And so that's really been a focal point of mine. My philosophy has changed, and my idea of just pounding weights all the time has changed. And our kids will still do that from time to time, but really it's really about just becoming more athletic.
Now, working with other sports, let's say they're 2 or 3 sport athletes. How do you do their training during the season when they're involved in other activities?
Absolutely. So what we tell our kids is we're not sports based. I can't do it. Some schools can, but we don't. Our program is completely based on all of our kids becoming more athletic. What can we do from a plyometric standpoint to our strength conditioning to our speed work? What can we do during our day to be able to do that? Great part about it is on my staff alone, I got the head wrestling coach and I got the head basketball coach. Wow. I got the head track coach, all on my staff, and so they've all bought in. On the girls' side, our former defense coordinator is the girls coach, and so he's all bought in. He runs our girls' side of our program, and so we really have a lot of buy-in from a lot of our coaches. That in season, our kids are still going to work out. You're going to work out on game day. That, obviously we'll reduce the amount of weight we're doing. We'll reduce the loads and the amount of reps, but we're still going to get a workout in because we want to stay on top of that. Right. Because if you're a 3-4 sport athlete, like some of our kids are, because we have baseball and softball in the state of Iowa, you're always in season, and so you can't just take time off and you never work out. And so, our coaches are really, really work together with ensuring that all of our student athletes are still working out and getting into the weight room as much as possible. But also knowing that once we get close to that postseason time, we start to taper our guys off and our gals off to make sure that they're performing at the right time for their particular sport.
What are your core lifts still? You want sheer strength. What do you still do?
We're gonna squat. Clean's really big to us. We do some snatches, dumbbell variation snatches. We started to do a little bit more deadlift. We hadn't done it for a long time, but we've really developed that just for a pure strength standpoint. Right. Got that into our program. But our bench, obviously you got to do some bench.
For your overall body strength,
we really get into just moving the bar fast. How fast can we move the bar, whether it's back squat, front squats, push press, overhead stuff. So
push press is probably important for that.
Yeah, so we're really trying to develop that as much as possible with our kids, and we have different cycles that we go through. Whether it's you're set to 10 and you're set to 3s, and we hit the whole gamut of everything, and single leg movements, and so we're really just trying to help the kids overall completely.
That's super. Well, I'm excited for you this year. I think you're off to a good start. I mean, that Hardin game, that was their place too.
That's
right?
their place.
I mean, that's a tough home crowd there because everybody shows up.
They did. It was packed crowd.
Yeah, and I mean that can go either way. And it came down to the final play, which is you're on the right track. I look for you to have a great week this week and keep her rolling, Coach.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
And it's an honor to have you out here. I appreciate it. I wanted to say, hey, listen Friday nights from 9 to 10:30 on 94.5 radio for the game wrap up for Friday Night Lights, and with Bill here anyway. And God, it's great to have you out here, Coach. I really mean I'm proud of you. I enjoyed watching you in college. It was an honor to go out there and watch the old Mavs, and you guys played really well and made the playoffs. I was a pro wrestler, so we finished up with Hush here.
Oh yeah.
See, the man knows it. The man knows it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Food or money? Let's go. Iowa, Lewis Central. Lewis Central on 3. Hush, hush, hush. There we go, baby.